All right, y'all. So we are back with this topic of why should you or should you not intervene if you see a man beating on a woman. We're gonna cover this again. The other live did cut short. I apologize. I'm not really sure why it did that, but I know my internet is great, so there's no reason for it to do that. So thank you, Robert. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. I don't know what's going on with it, but I appreciate it. So I know Duran said he was going to come back. He thought maybe it was him, but it's not. I feel like it's mine. I don't know why, but we'll get it figured out. I appreciate those that stick with us. So we're going to get back talking. So what he was talking about before he walked off, or before he left, was talking about men being considered the B word, or like looking down on it. And like what I was trying to say about that is sometimes women, they put themselves in these positions, and they put themselves in positions where they're like, well, I feel like I have to be dominant, or I have to, do whatever to my husband because he's going to do what I say. And the thing is, I was watching this video of this lady, and she was getting beat up in the middle of the projects. And I'm talking about he's tagging her, and like he's hitting her in the face, and she's just balled up, and you feel so sorry for her. You feel so super sorry for the things that she's going through, and it's sad because it's so sad because look, you don't know what she did. She didn't seem like somebody who was really one that would do something like that. So it almost made you feel sorry for her. But then, like, towards the end of the video, you see like a whole bunch of men like come in, and they like check on her, and then they just beat the mess out of this dude. But it's a whole bunch of them. Like it's a whole bunch of them. Purse. It's a whole bunch of them that goes back, and they just beat him up. And I mean, you almost feel like he got what he deserved. But it's so nowadays, like back in the day, you think of it like 1950s, 60s, 70s, it wasn't nothing to be like, you see a woman getting beat up or something, you're going to go help her. You're going to go help her. You're going to go, you're going to go see about her. You might shoot a gun in the air and just be like, hey, yeah, cut it out, and really, women really this really didn't happen a lot to women back then, because back in those days, women really understood what their places were. So you really didn't see a lot of men having to physically put their hands on women. But the sad thing about it is nowadays you do. Nowadays you see it. Nowadays you see women getting beat up, and you don't know whether to intervene. I mean, Robert, you tell me. You're on here with me. You tell me. What do you think? Do you think that a man should intervene in a given situation if he sees that a woman is getting beat up? What do you think about that? And I don't mean to put you on the spot like that, but I kind of do. So the thing is, it's really hard to decipher, what you should and what you shouldn't do. Because I mean, even if you switch it up and you're like, well, should a woman intervene if she sees a woman beating up a man? I personally would say the man should study the situation. I agree. He should study the situation. Because like I would say about Jonathan Price, And what I was saying to Vita when I was talking on Facebook, we were talking about a situation. We were talking about the situation where there was a domestic violence situation right here in our town, and the lady called the police. Well, the police ended up shooting the husband, and she's always just like, well, I just really wish I would have never called the police. And you just have to sit back and you just have to look at the situation, because you just don't know. You don't know what has happened, what has occurred. You don't know if the woman has done something to to the man. And I hate to say it like that, because you're probably like, well, you know what, men shouldn't be beating on women, and they shouldn't. And I don't agree with men that do beat on women, but I also don't believe in women that entice men and push men to the point where they will happen. When did this situation happen with Jonathan Price? This is recent. I'm gonna look it up just because you asked a specific question like that. This is recent. 2020 on 10/7, October the 7th, 2020. This just happened. So this situation is really, it says he was shot 4 times in the torso. I think he was shot with a taser gun though. And the officer is actually being prosecuted for shooting him. But beyond what he did, because I mean, if you look at it from two separate angles, he probably could have avoided being shot if he'd have handled the situation with the police differently. But you just don't know. You know what I'm saying? You just don't know what happened. But according to them, the police was just trying to detain him, and he thought he was drunk, but he couldn't prove that he was drunk. He was just. But the thing is, if Jonathan Price had never got in the middle of that, stopped and got in the middle of that, and he just kind of would have let it go, he wouldn't even been there when the police were called, because the police were called for that specific situation. He is. His name's something Lucas. Sorry about that. And the officer should be prosecuted. Oh, it's okay. He is being prosecuted, and I think he's actually in jail now about it. Yeah, he went to jail for shooting him, because it says Jonathan offered handshake, asked offer if he was doing okay. There's a whole body cam, and there's another camera that caught it, but I mean, why would you even go there? I mean, you shake the officer's hand, the officer, and you can hear it. He's like, how are you doing? And then he's like, well, I'm doing good. How you doing? I'm doing good. So the conversation started out just fine. What led to this? What caused this to go as far as it did? But that's where that question comes in. How do you step back and say, okay, I need to intervene? I mean, I might be able to stop 2 girls from fighting. But I mean, have you ever seen videos of those girls that try to get in the middle of 2 men fighting? You're like, oh, why did you even try that? Whoa, they get in the middle, and they're like this little girl, and they get in the middle of 2 men, they get punched. And then they're like, oh my God, why'd you hit me? Oh, why'd you get in the middle of that? I think that a lot of girls, a lot of women, they think that they're strong enough to handle situations, but that's not even covering the topic. I mean, but look, it's scary. It's a scary kind of situation when you're having to put yourself in a position where you're like, should I intervene? Should I get involved? Should I say anything? And my husband has told me before, don't get involved. Don't say anything. Just don't worry about it. Because sometimes my conscience is like, hey, you guys need to stop. And then they start with the, well, mind your business, and they'll start calling you names and stuff like that. And then, it starts a big old feud and fight and argument. And the sad thing about this is, the real sad thing about it is when you don't get involved and then something happens to them, like they die or, you know, they get hurt really bad, you almost feel guilty, like, man, I wish I could have did something. But the sad thing is you just don't know. You just don't know when to get involved, when not to get involved. You just don't know. You just don't know. And I'm not, my one of my friends was saying, you know, she teaches her daughters not to hit men. How many times have you watched a situation where, I mean, I think I watched a video one time where this guy was whipping his wife and she's just taking it. She's just sitting there and he's recording this. He cut her hair off. Oh, what else did he do? Yes, Jaden. You look like you're finna ask me a question. Your shirt's backwards. What you want? No.
Why?
No. Anyways, does it look like I'm finna argue with you? Okay. So anyways, like she was saying, you know, you try to teach your daughters not to hit men, and y'all are fixing to see how I deal with my children when they don't do what I say the first time. Y'all ready for this?
You had to say.
So anyways, the thing is, so you don't know, where was I at? So, okay, so the video about the woman that, okay, so he shaves her hair. I know he cuts her hair off, or like, whatever she thinks is pretty about her. I think what she was doing, and you feel so sorry for her when you're watching it. And then when you go back and you see what he saw, you're like, oh. And you want to say, hey, you didn't have to take it that far, but she deserved that. I guess what she was doing is she was like getting all dressed up and stuff, and she was cheating. So she was going out and she was messing with somebody else. And, you know, so in those countries, you know, they do that to their wives and stuff. So not saying that it's necessarily the right way to handle the situation, but what I am going to say is that a lot of times people put themselves in positions where they're going to get hands laid on them. And then they're going to want to play the victim, or they're going to want to play like, I don't know what he did. I don't know why he did that to me, or I don't know why she keeps doing this to me. And I just did a video like a couple weeks ago about domestic violence on men. And no, I'm not on the man side. As I've heard that a lot. I'm not just on the man side. I'm pro-truth. So I like things to be the actuality of it. And it just goes back, like, men shouldn't be hitting women, but we have women provoking men. It's the same way in the school system. When you have teachers that provoke students and then wonder why those students act out in class. They act out in class because you've provoked them. You've enticed them to get to that point. And had you avoided that, had you left that alone, had you, not been so quick to act this way or to say this to the student or get disrespectful to the student when you're supposed to be the adult, they wouldn't have done that. And it's kind of the same way when you're dealing with men and women is now you'll get some men who will just beat on their wives. Like they get mad. Like I saw a post one time. It was so sad. It said, this lady didn't want to be with him. So he said, every time you turn me down, I beat her. And she was like, well, I don't want to be with you. And he was like, okay, well, I'm fixing to go beat her. You'll get men, that's real. Even though that's supposed to be funny, a funny Facebook post, you actually, when you get people who know things like that, like I do, there's actual men out there who do that. They actually take it out on their spouse. And you have women that do the same thing. Something happens, they take it out on their spouse. And they will entice their spouse to get violent, whether it's male or female. You'll have men that'll go out and do things to women. And then a woman will want to go out and, hit him and stuff like that. the thing about physical violence is when it does. Sometimes domestic violence leads to murder. You are so correct. It really does. Have you ever seen Blue-Eyed Butcher? Yeah. Blue-Eyed Butcher was a lady who I think she had blonde hair, blue eyes. I think it's a movie, but I think it was based on a real story. I'm pretty sure it was.